Welcome everyone to the BRANDT'S Fertility Cotton webinar. My name is Gregory Jackson. I'm the Eastern U.S. Regional Agronomist. We're going to be discussing cotton fertility from the establishment through boll development up to harvest at this point in time. And there's three key points that we're going to start out, going to be based around establishment, vegetative growth, and boll development, and the products that Brandt has available to fit those slots, and how you'd best use them with your production practices on your individual farm. So as you see in the cotton plant, the basic stages are from planting and establishment of the seed in the basic plant up to where harvest comes in when the bolls are developed and the bolls are full of fiber ready to be harvested. So we're going to start with the establishment part. In establishment, Brandt has several products available in that category that we'll be discussing, but the key nutrients to be involved are zinc, manganese, and then phosphate fertilizers. Phosphate being extremely important for root development and getting the plant off and growing. Brandt ends up PDS, which is the ends up P phosphorus material, and all three of these products I'm discussing have enzymes in them that we'll discuss a little bit more in depth. Ends up PDS is a 1258O base. Used in furrow with the seed, very safe. Ends up zinc is a zinc product with the manganese, the ends up technology in it, and there's a manganese, ends up manganese that's available to be used. These would all be done at planting and emergence, getting the plant established. The key things that we talked about is a Brandt zinc at 1 quart per acre, ends up manganese at 1 quart per acre, which is 3% manganese, and then the ends up PDS can be used from 5 to 30 pounds per acre based on where in placement, and I'll discuss that as we go forward. The ends up products are biological products that are in there, and they're not live bugs, they're the actual enzymes. If you put into the field in micronutrient, microorganisms into the ground, with the seed, the microorganisms produce enzymes. So what the Brandt products do is we've bypassed the live bugs in the jug, and we're just putting in large amounts of the key critical enzyme themselves that are produced by microorganisms in another fashion. Proteins, the enzymes are proteins that catalyze biological reactions. In the soil, they're produced primarily by the microbes, as I discussed. They're responsible for conversion of organic and inorganic nutrients to make them available for the plant, nitrogen fixation, carbon cycling, breaking down pesticides over time, and then organic matter decomposition. Many of the enzymes require a cofactor like zinc to see that the functions are carried out properly. As I said, they are not alive, and they do degrade under environmental conditions. This is a picture of the cotton plant in the soil environment. Given an example of the enzymes that are practiced that we use are three primarily: manganese, lipase, and phosphatase, which we'll discuss at length. These show you how they interact within the soil profile. These products, here's a chart showing the ends up zinc, ends up manganese, and as I said, they're used at a 1 quart rate. Both of those contain manganese and lipase enzymes. The manganese breaks down the exudates around the root tip and organic carbon and release sugars, and improves the plant's ability to uptake water and nutrition. The lipase that's also in the ends up in the zinc and manganese breaks down organic matter into smaller, more digestible units. Then we have ends up KDS, which are dry materials. The ends up SDS and the ends up P are dry materials that can be used on the farm by the grower himself or by the dealer that would melt it down and make the liquid available to the growers. And all of those, primarily the one we're going to be talking about today, is ends up PDS, contains phosphatase. And the phosphatase enzyme converts tied up organic phosphorus into soluble inorganic phosphorus, making it available for the roots to uptake and utilize in the plant. This is some data showing 3 years of trials from 2017 to 2020. There's 23 trials in total. And what this illustrates is using 4 pounds of Ends-Up PDS, and remember that base is a 125080, compared to 8 gallons of 1034O as normal use as a pop-up 2x2. The difference here is that the Ends-Up can be used in furrow with the seed to make it readily available at the root zone, and it gives the ability for that plant to take it up there without having any salt injury. Whereas 8 gallons of 1034O in most instances would be put out side by side. This chart shows the pounds per acre increase in lint over the control without the pop-up. So in other words, 92 pounds with a 67% win rate over 67 pounds of cotton under with the 8 gallons of 1034O. 84 pounds with the PDS versus 72 with the 1034O. And then 123 in 2019, the trials are averaging 123 pounds over the control. This is not pounds per acre. This is the increase in pounds per acre of cotton using the PDS over 85 pounds increase by using a pop-up. And then in 2020, it was 75 and 65. But overall, we've got a 69 to a 72% win rate, which is very good when you're looking at all the trials showing that you get a positive response. This illustrates one thing for sure, that it's always a positive. You need to be using a pop-up fertilizer either in furrow or to the side, depending on what the individual fertility program you have is. So in timing, we're going to talk about the application 1, which is a foliar manganese, zinc, and boron. And then application 2 for foliar manganese, zinc, and boron would go out with a fungicide and insecticide or possibly picks, So you're looking at all the stages of growth here. Planting emergence, the time we put out the other products, the vegetative growth, right through pinhead, matchhead square, first to late, early bloom, late bloom, and on up until the bolls are maturing and filling out. So this is the key timing showing this. Many herbicides have compatibility problems with micronutrients, and that's the beauty of the Brandt product lines, is we've got some, as I'll discuss coming up, products for specific use with specific herbicides based on your program. When you look in the second application, which is foliar as well, for the manganese, zinc, and boron, going out with the fungicide and picks, most of those are readily mixable without any issues with insecticides and fungicides. If you're going to make a different application like between the herbicide and the insecticide, we recommend 10 to 14 days between the 2 different types of sprays. So we got the plant established with the early Ends-Up zinc, Ends-Up manganese. And then we got into the vegetative stage, the second stage of the growth we discussed, which runs from pinhead square to matchhead square up to the first bloom when those squares open up. At that time, you're putting on, after the herbicide, and that you're putting on the Quattro Plus, which is a zinc, manganese, boron, molybdenum, and sulfur product that's compatible with dicamba, 2,4-D, some of your higher pH herbicides in the Reflex, Flexstar GT, those type of things in those categories of herbicides. Smart KB and Smart Trio are also in use. The Brandt Smart Trio would be used with glyphosate or glufosinate or Liberty herbicide at that point in stage. The KB would be compatible with either the glufosinate or the Liberty product, or the Roundup, or with the higher pH herbicides. So the key take home here is that the herbicide that you're using in your production program is essential to picking the correct foliar nutritional to put in with it is compatible. Like Trio is not recommended as a good tank mix for the higher pH herbicides that are going on at this vegetative state. Here again, the keys to getting the plant established, especially in the eastern and southeastern production areas for cotton. The key nutrients are manganese, boron, zinc, and sulfur. We used to get sulfur free from the atmosphere, but we've cleaned up the atmosphere and all the fossil fuels now, so we don't get as much free sulfur from the atmosphere when it rains as we used to. So there's a lot higher need in some instances for the use of sulfur now moving forward. So most all of the foliar nutritionals have some of that in it. This is a map illustrating when we were talking about zinc and manganese. The dark blue areas are the areas of the greatest, if you can see from the chart, the greatest areas of deficiency or low levels of zinc. Also with the same areas, you're looking south to middle Texas, the East Coast, up through your sandy coastal plain areas. And that's areas usually where cotton is grown, where you've got some sandy land, well drained, and usually lots of rainfall. Now there's some exceptions in Texas, but in the southeastern part and the eastern shore where Virginia, Carolinas, and the Delta, the cotton is grown, manganese and zinc are always at a low level. So you need to be considering adding that to, in addition to what you do as a soil fertilizer. Manganese is extremely important to plant health and photosynthesis. It combines with the chlorophyll and the other elements in the leaf and the food factories in the leaf to produce the energy that the plant needs to store it into the bolls and raise your crop. Manganese for photosynthesis, carbohydrate, lipid production, and overall general plant health. You keep these plants healthy, they're a lot less likely to pick up disease and are able to better produce for you. The manganese, as your pHs go up in height, the availability of manganese reduces. So in other words, when you're taking and deciding what herbicide, what nutritionals you need, your soil pHs, if they go up, you're going to have a reduction in the amount of availability of the manganese from the soil. So a foliar application is highly recommended to this. Very same conditions with zinc, and in both of these plans you can see the slide in the middle that shows the chlorosis that can be that appears in the upper canopy, this interveinal chlorosis, which is the deficiency symptoms showing of zinc. So zinc is important for improved growth, better boll set, maturity, and cutout. That's why we try to get it early in the planting stage. That's why it's critical for like the ends up zinc that we recommend to go in furrow at planting, so that seed gets a good start from the beginning with a good slug of zinc available to the plant. Here again, high pH soils interferes with the availability of zinc in the soil, making it critical that it's a foliar application of something is recommended. So high phosphate levels can also interfere with that. Cold, wet conditions and soils that are high in organic matter can interfere with zinc as well. Now here's a chart showing the BRANDT'S Smart systems. There's advanced compatibility with foliar herbicides, the BRANDT'S Smart Trio for Roundup and Liberty, all showing zinc, manganese, sulfur, nitrogen, and a little boron. Compatibility with the cotton herbicides are not. That means that dicamba 2,4-D is not compatible with Trio, but it is compatible with other nutritionals that you'd be applying. Smart Manganese is not compatible with the cotton herbicides as it stands in just the Smart Manganese. We have another formulation, which is BRANDT'S Smart Manganese Plus, which was formulated for use with the dicamba 2,4-D and the higher pH herbicides, and are all labeled. These bottom three down here are labeled for use with that chemistry in the dicamba 2,4-D type situations. As far as insecticides and fungicides, they're all compatible without a problem. If sulfur is a little bit more on the leaning side, you can go to BRANDT'S Smart Sulfur Plus. You're still getting your sulfur, nitrogen, little boron, manganese, and zinc, just not as high levels of manganese and zinc. And you can combine these products here along with Smart Quattro Plus, which is probably the better choice of the three, unless you need a higher percentage of sulfur. Quattro Plus works extremely well with the nitrogen and over there. It's very similar to Smart Trio, except it is developed for the higher pH materials. One other comment I'd make here about Trio and Smart Quattro Plus, both have stress mitigation properties available in those chemistries that cuts down or reduces the amount of foliar injury that can occur sometimes, or setback that can occur sometimes at early herbicide application. So it helps it grow out of it quicker. And here again, I would say on the mixing here between the Quattro Plus is compatible with the herbicides, when the Trio would not be compatible with anything but Roundup and the Liberty. But one thing that can do is when you use some of the herbicides that you would need the Quattro Plus for, if you still get some injury, you can come back with a smart Trio application over the top, because it is an excellent stress mitigation property material, just not in the same tank mix. So that's the biggest thing. All the products would work. It's just what you're going to tank mix it with. And if you have questions of that, call me or your brand professional, your TSM in your area. I'd be glad to help you. But this whole lineup of products gives you, the growers, the flexibility to apply with herbicides to get ahead of micronutrient deficiencies. Brandt Smart System Foliar Nutrition Performance on Cotton. This is data of combination of all these products over thousands of acres. This product has been applied for in the South. Looking down here, and we've had average yield increases. You put all the technologies, on an average of about 104 pounds per acre when you're putting the correct the correct nutritional on at the correct timing. And that's with about a 68% win rate. In other words, it's always just about 68 to 70% of the time it's going to show you that activity. So the third stage of foliar growth that we're talking, or vegetative growth that we're talking about, is the most important nutrients at those times later on in the season is going to be boron and potassium. As we mentioned earlier, boron is critical at pinhead, matchhead square to help set the blooms, to get the blooms set on the plant. Is if you don't have boron, you can get abortion, the plant's squares would drop off, and so on. But as you continue to go on through the life cycle, it's also not only in setting bolls, but in filling those bolls, because boron is critical. It's pinhead, matchhead square, 10 to 15 days later, 15 to 20% bloom, and at seed development. If seed development is, if boron is limiting during the time that the boll is filling, when the seed is forming, the seed is dependent upon boron as one of the key factors to keep you from, for that seed to develop. So if you happen to be low on boron, it can interfere with the seed development. If the seed doesn't develop, the lint doesn't mature. If the lint doesn't mature, the boll will not open. So you can have hard lock cotton, what's called hard lock cotton. Here again, boron is critical from the beginning to the end. And another thing to mention here is that boron is the most leachable of any of the minor elements that you have. So if you've got a soil applied boron, which is advised, and then you get 3 to 4 inches of rain, and remember, we're on a sandy loam type soil with a lot of leaching capability, the boron will leach out of the zone, making it almost essential for a foliar boron application during this boll development and boll at the end. The products for that is my favorite one is Brandt Smart KB, and I'll talk about it a little more in depth here in just a minute. Smart BMO or Smart B, which is another, all our special borons made for foliar that we'll discuss. And then Brandt Liquid Boron, which is a 10%, with some parts of the country still using 10%, 10% boron. Here again, the timing, Smart KB is 1 to 2 quarts per acre, and it can be used from early on, depending on your potash levels that you want to get. If you want to get it higher, 16% potassium, 2.5% boron, 0.2 moly, and 2% nitrogen. Smart BMO, and then the 10% boron at the bottom. Boron is critical for pollination, fruit set, improves calcium utilization, and you can see that the things you will see microscopically that can show up a ring as a typical boron deficiency on the petioles of the cotton leaf And then over here, flower abortion, shedding, even some deformity in the leaf itself can show you there's boron issues. But the thing to remember is you don't want to wait on a foliar application until you have deficiency symptoms, because at that point you've already damaged your potential yield. You can help bring it back, but you've already damaged it here in the beginning. So monitor your tissue samples and be sure you have a foliar backup to supplement what you do in a regular fertility program to be sure you keep everything moving forward. Our boron I want to talk about a little bit is a proprietary smart boron that was invented by our head chemist. This product is a proprietary. It's a shielded form to prevent binding and tie up in the plant. Historically, people say that boron will not move within the plant tissue. This boron will move within the plant tissue. It is cross-linked, which gives it a structure that mimics the cross-linking that already exists in the structure of plants. And this also gives exceptional mobility for the boron in the plant. And this smart B, as illustrated in the chemistry down here, this is what a boric acid, which would be a 10% boron. The smart B, which is also in the smart BMO, and is also the boron source that's in the KB, has this cross-linked boron structure that gives the ability to have extremely improved structure and movement within the plant, where the growing points are, and the movement with that fertility and that boron to the growing points. Another key factor is that these borons are also they're acidic in nature, whereas typically boron is a high pH, which can interfere with insecticides and other things. When you have a high pH boron, like from Soluble or even some boric acids, the pHs are higher, such that it can cause alkaline hydrolysis and can degrade some of the insecticides and chemicals that you would put on foliar. Whereas the smart boron products in the Brandt product line is an acid-based, which is unique to this area. Foliar cotton data from 17 to 20, 42 different trial responses. Here again, this is pounds of cotton, and at the treated over no control with adding boron, 173 pounds of lint versus 87 if you're using another form, 115, 83, and so on. The key here is the responsiveness of the percentage of winds is correlated to the boron levels in the crop. If the lower boron levels that are present in the field, you get a higher response to foliar boron application. Also, higher yielding potential cotton has a greater demand for boron. So high yielding cotton with this greater demand also shows positive influences and responses to putting on additional boron. So if you're looking for that high yield on your cotton, especially in a year like 2022 is going to be, you want to get every yield you can for all of your inputs, and this product line is extremely beneficial for what you're after. A few other comments about the K. We talked about the Brandt Smart KB. Potassium is heavily needed when the fruiting structures, they call it as a sink for potassium, is well established. In high yielding cotton varieties, 3/4 of the potassium is partitioned to fruiting structures or the bolls. And it is a key in the role of fiber quality and strength, which are paid on that, the quality and the strength of that fiber in the staple and the other measurements for the cotton fiber that's used and how your cotton is graded for what its properties are for making fibers. So the K is extremely important. So there's K can be put on the ground, but foliar application of K is extremely important when you've got a good source like the Brandt KB that can get it there, and also with the boron that's present at that same time. So the Brandt Smart System advanced compatibility for foliars on the potassium side. We have several, as we've discussed. We'll kind of summarize them here. Smart B is the cross-link boron. It's a 5% boron. Smart BMO, it's a 5% boron with a little moly. Smart KB is a 2.5% boron of the cross-linked boron with moly and 16% potassium and a little nitrogen. Manaplex K, which is a 20% potassium, but it's an alkaline base and is not good for some insecticides. This would be one if you put it on your by yourself. My usage experience I've seen is I would choose the KB over the K. If for some reason you didn't want the B in there, then that Manaplex K is a possibility. Still a really good foliar. If you want to go something side dressed, we have the Enzup KDS, which is a dry soluble that can be solutionized for side dressing to the plant, and it's a 549 with 8 sulfur. And these can all be used in combinations. But here again, don't forget Brand Smart KB. And the key point here is when you got Smart BMO and Smart B, which are excellent products, but KB and potassium being needed all throughout the growing season has been proven in recent research by many people. You're needing potassium all through the season, and to be sure it's available there, when you put on a foliar application, you know you're getting it. And the beauty of this KB is that this boron that's in here, when you put on 1 quart per acre of Smart KB, you're getting this equivalent included of a pint, which is the recommended rate of the Smart BMO, the new cross-linked boron. So the KB, you're getting the potassium, plus you're getting basically an included free shot of KB. So the Brand Smart system products, we offer unique protection and unique delivery systems. Brand Smart offers unique nutrient protection and delivery, and KB has been especially good on cotton. I can't emphasize that enough. Fertility program, 4 main goals. In the beginning, planning, establishment, and emergence. To summarize, Enzup zinc and manganese, which the Enzup zinc and manganese, if you had somewhat of a lower level of manganese as well, you can take a pint of Enzup zinc, a pint of Enzup manganese together, and you get the same amount of enzyme you get in the recommended quart rate of either one of the entities separately. The Brand Enzup PDS, here again, is a dry material. You're putting 5 to 30 pounds per acre. You put mostly on cotton, we're putting 5 pounds in furrow with the seed. And as we showed the yield data, we're getting better results than you're getting out of the 1034A. Here, the reasoning for that is that phosphatase enzyme giving you the ability for that product put in furrow in the ground. That phosphatase enzyme breaks down organic forms of phosphorus that's normally tied up in the soil for you to get better activity and be able to glean that tied up organic phosphorus out of the soil. And, you know, in parts of the country, that's a big buzzword now, is reducing and improving the utilization of phosphate fertilizers. And that's what the phosphatase does for. We're on the cutting edge technology with that phosphatase in this Enzup material. That's one that I can't speak about enough. To get this vegetative growth established in the plant establishment, get the roots moving down there where you can pick up the bulk of the fertilizers that you've got. Then you get into vegetative states with Smart KB, Quattro, Sulfur Plus, or Trio, depending upon what your herbicide choices are. Getting those bolls and squares and blooms to make bolls. And then later on in the season with the fungicide and insecticide, Smart BMO, KB, or liquid boron. Do not forget that boron. And look here is something that you can see from vegetative right through boll development. KB is a key factor that you can keep one SKU number in your farm and have excellent results. There's a Brandt product finder that I highly recommend in the field. This is an app for your iOS, your smartphones and your Android phones. It's a no charge, it's a free app. You can use iPads as well. You can pull up a product and search it. If you needed boron, you could put in boron into this app product finder and pick it up, and you can have the SDS, the label, any brochures that we have available for those products. This is an excellent tool right from your phone in the field. This is one of the handiest tools that I recommend all of our growers that I work with and make recommendations for to use this. It's right there at your fingertips. You got a question on the label, you can pull it up from your iPhone in the cab of your tractor. Some other things in the field, it's excellent materials that our agronomic department has put together. This is a 2022 grower guide. This is brand new out. Our marketing department's done an excellent job putting all this data that the discovery and innovation and research teams have put out here, and they have taken it and put it into extremely usable form. Get it with your Brandt professional. We can help you access one of these guides. It's very good, handy, in your hand reference. Kent says conditions leading to deficiencies, tissue test ranges, micronutrient ratio considerations, application strategies, deficiency symptoms. It's all there. We also have on our websites what we call, you can go to www.brandt.co/info to grow on, and you can find many videos and small excerpts of information and literature that can help you with any of these areas of that you would like to hone in your reference sources on. That kind of brings this to a conclusion. I appreciate your time that you've taken out of your schedule to meet on here and try to glean some information. My contact information is on the website. I welcome any of you to give me a call at any time, and thank you for listening to Team Brandt.